is the popular Cris Collinsworth, who joins us on the program. Where do you want to start, Cris? What's your game?
Oh, I thought I'd start with my free Mercedes that I get
Oh,
for coming on
okay.
your show. Is
All
that
right.
right? Since
Yep.
you're just giving them away,
Look out in the
we can.
driveway. Look out in the driveway. Have Holly go out in the driveway. It's right
I'll
there.
do it.
Yep. It's
I'll do it.
right
I'll
there.
do it.
Okay. Which game you want to start with?
Let's start with Tampa.
Okay. I was surprised. I mean, there's a couple things that surprised me, but the one thing I think will get overlooked is I thought that was a Tampa win, a true Tampa win. Tom will get the credit, but that Tampa defense did some special things against Aaron Rodgers that I think will be understated, Cris. How would you describe what that philosophy was?
Well, I think that you have to. I think you're dead on. And maybe in part we finally saw the David Bakhtiari injury show up in this game, because we saw a week ago that it didn't show up. It was like, oh, it just looked like the Green Bay offense. It was no worries at all. They finally figured it out, and Aaron's going to do what he does. They're going to run the ball maybe a little bit more, but it's going to be fine. But for the second straight time now, the Tampa Bay defense dominated Aaron Rodgers. And, I studied the first game between these two teams because I had one of them the following week, whatever. So I got to watch all the blitzing that Tampa did. And they really impacted Aaron Rodgers in a way that I just had not seen anybody really impact him. And then you come back in this game, and they had some 5-man pressures, and they did a little bit of that. But there was a lot of one-on-one winning going on the defensive line of the Buccaneers. And one of the problems you have when you have a superstar out, and we'll get to this in the Kansas City game now because they're going to be missing both of their tackles. But without David Bakhtiari in there, all of a sudden, all the help that you could give the other guys on that offensive line goes away. Now you're one-on-one at other positions as well as the left tackle position. And that could always be assumed if you were Aaron Rodgers. If you have Bakhtiari in there, you just assume that backside is covered. So you're really only worried about 4 offensive linemen and doing whatever you need to do to protect them.
Yeah, but you see, and this was a depleted secondary too. Like they didn't even have a healthy secondary, and they were putting all that pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Let me start with the Packers. You didn't take advantage of Tom Brady 3 interceptions in the second half. If I would have said Brady's throwing 3 picks in the second half, you just assume that they're going to be able to take advantage. They only cashed in with 6 points. What was the big problem, you think, with that offense and not being able to do anything?
I think, you have to give credit to what they did defensively. Maybe it was just the confidence they built in the first game where they were down 10-0 in that first game playing in Tampa and came back and won 38-10. And the other part of it is, and you hit on this, that, you start the game without Winfield, you lose Whitehead, the other safety in the game. So now what you're really saying is, if I'm going to bring pressure, I'm going to trust Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting and Carlton Davis one-on-one out there on the outside, to make plays. And did they always stop them? No, they didn't. But that was a young group coming into this season. When I analyzed the Tampa Bay team, I said they'll go as far as this secondary takes them. They're all babies. They're all young, Winfield's out now, but they're all young players. And sometimes that's a good thing. You know what I mean, Dan? There was a time when you and I were young and dumb, and I didn't know any better. Well, of course, I went to the Super Bowl my first year. Of course, I went to the Pro Bowl my first year in the league. This happens to everybody, right? This is a long way from the Florida Gators going 0-10-1 my junior year. So, I mean, sometimes it just works out and you build this confidence and it starts going. But I really think that looking now at what getting Vita Vea back and having some push, Vita Vea was the best player on this Bucs defense when he was playing earlier in the year. He was the best. And what Devin White did a week ago in that game, and Levante David and Barrett and Ndamukong Suh and Jason Pierre-Paul looked like Jason Pierre-Paul again. All of a sudden you go, wow, those 3 interceptions, at least 2 of them, I can't remember the third, at least 2 of them were 3 and outs. It was 3 and out. And that's typically when Aaron Rodgers buries you. When you get one of those quick changes and he gets the ball back in his hands, they've got something in their hip pocket and he buries you.
Let's go to the end of the first half. How does that happen with that kind of defensive formation and Scotty Miller gets behind you?
I'm just going to take a guess. I'm sitting there watching the game with our family, and I said, I think he's going to throw a Hail Mary here, because I didn't think that that Green Bay would allow them to throw a quick out, right, to get in field goal range. So if you're not going to be gifted that, then I'm just going to take a shot at a Hail Mary and see what happens here, right? But in reality, they could have had the quick out and they could have had the deep ball. I'm going to say that for King defensively, maybe he was thinking about that. Maybe he was thinking they're going to run a 10-yard out here and get in field goal range, and so I'm going to undercut this sucker and pick six it, and because otherwise, you're at the very least in 3 deep or quarters, or at least 2 deep with 2 guys sort of sitting back on the goal line somewhere. But when he launched it, I said, I was thinking right away, this is a touchdown. I mean, Tom Brady's not throwing this ball unless Scotty Miller, who's really a bit of the unsung hero of this team now with Antonio Brown out, coming down with that thing. It was an amazing play, and it lost the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and people don't understand. Scotty Miller was a track guy in high school, and a 4.39 guy at the combine. He's not like Edelman. He's not one of those. Not Wes Welker. No. He's actually got straight ahead, track speed. But let's go to the 2 minutes to go, and the we're 3rd and 8. You got to score a touchdown there. Rodgers, they had 3 plays where they were going into the end zone there. And then you have the 4th down where they kick the field goal. How about all 4 plays together, though, Chris? If you were going to dissect those on what the philosophy was of Green Bay and that they ended with kicking a field goal.
Yeah, they came back to a play, that little double move, where he came in and went back up. So you can't blame them for that. That one looked good before. I thought the real sequence came down to 3rd down. Because on 3rd down, you have to tell your quarterback, are we going for this on 4th down, right? You have to, and I'm going to take it one step further than that. I'm going to say this is not a decision for the head coach. I think it's in today's day and age, and almost every team has this. And if the Green Bay Packers don't have this, they need to have this. They need to have a full-time guy and maybe a full-time staff that understands the analytics of where we are in the game, right? So let's take what the situation was. It was just outside the 2-minute warning. So you're going to have 3 timeouts and you're going to have a 2-minute warning, right? So effectively four timeouts. So now you're also in a position where no matter what you do, if you kick a field goal, the goal is still the same. You still have to score a touchdown. Under no circumstances do you not have to score a touchdown in that situation. So you're going to take 2 shots at scoring a touchdown. You're going to take it on 4th down, and if you make it, 2-point conversion. But more importantly, if you miss it, if you don't score the touchdown there, you're leaving Tampa and Tom Brady the ball on the 7 or 8 yard line, wherever they were in that situation. I can just tell you, being inside your own 10-yard line with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line is so significant in what you can do defensively, your play calling, how you attack it, the whole thing. So there should have been, so they played for one shot and a touchdown that would have won the game as opposed to needing a 2-point conversion. So the guy's not crazy, right? There is a thing, but there's no way in that set of circumstances, if they had the right analytics team with them, they don't tell, Matt, you got to take the shot for 2 touchdowns here. Talking
to Cris Collinsworth, NBC Sunday Night Football. And I agree with you. I'm watching it wondering, okay, at the worst case scenario is you leave Brady inside his 10, and then you take your chances at getting the ball back, then scoring a touchdown, 2-point conversion, and go into overtime. The Kansas City Buffalo game, I kept thinking if you're Buffalo, you can't go with the same script you had the last time you played them. Can you be aggressive enough with Kansas City? The approach, if you were coaching Buffalo, the approach, would it have been much different than you saw last night with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen?
Probably, but that's easy to say today. I mean, I saw the results of the game, right? A couple of things. I would have wanted to. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was the story of the whole week, right? It was turf toe and it was coming off concussion. I don't think the concussion had anything to do with anything that he did in the game. So I'm just going to erase that one. The turf toe, I don't know that we really found out if it mattered or not. I kind of wanted to see. I mean, you know what he does with that little back pedal and throw of his, right? But at some point, he has to make a quick stop and pivot and get back into his throwing motion. I would want to see him, at least in the first quarter of that game, run around a little bit. You had a 9-0 lead. The Chiefs did what they always do, which is they're going to spot you. It's like when I used to race my dad. He would spot me 10 yards before the race would start. And so they spot him the 9 points, which is usual for Kansas City. And then here it comes, right? And I'm not saying that they could have impacted Mahomes, but I would have at least early in that game wanted him thinking about that turf toe. And you've got something, and we saw it impact him a little bit the week before and how he was throwing the ball. When you have something, and he's the best player on the field, I want to challenge that a little bit more than I think they did.
How would you feel if you're a Buffalo fan today?
Good, really good. I thought Josh was not anywhere close to his best in this game. And he reverted back to his weakness when he was struggling. And he wasn't struggling much this year. He's an ungodly player. I mean, he really is. And I think he's going to be great, great, great. I really do. But young quarterbacks, when they're in big moments or in really tough situations or under pressure, do the same thing. They scramble right. Scramble right is a sign of we have to improve this, right? Patrick Mahomes is just as good going to his left scrambling as he is to the right. When you scramble to one side of the field, especially to the right side of the field, defenses have seen that so much. Now, Josh has the ability to throw it all the way back across the field, a la a John Elway or somebody like that. But for the most part, you're taking a third of the field away from what the defense has to cover. And in addition, you're also telling them if we bring any kind of pressure off the left side at all, he's going to move to his right. So you can begin to play that a little bit more. Young quarterbacks always do it. Watch next preseason. Watch drafted quarterbacks. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when they're flushed out of the pocket, they're moving to their right. And everybody goes, okay, we'll give them 3 years and they'll figure this out.
Matthew Stafford fits best where?
Oh, boy. I think New England. That feels like the obvious choice to me. But, Dak Prescott is going to determine a lot of things in my mind because I'm assuming Dak gets signed with the Dallas Cowboys. But, man, after this 2020 and 2021 and COVID, I'm not assuming anything anymore. I just don't know what's going to happen. Is Derek Carr going to be in play? There's going to be some guys out there, and the draft choices this year are going to be good as well. And I think the question that has to be answered for me in New England is this a long-term or a short-term play? I mean, Bill Belichick, I'm going to assume he wants to go get Don Shula's record, which means that he's probably has another 4 or 5 years at least to try and go get that. If he doesn't, and this is a 2-year game plan, and he wants to retire, only Bill knows this. Then Matthew Stafford feels like a great fit to me. Pop in there. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do quickly. If he starts moving up in the draft and they go get a play, I'm like, all right, he's never going to retire. So there's a lot of different things in play, but for Matthew Stafford, I think he still has it. I do. I've always thought that he was a better player than what the results indicated, but who knows?
Great to talk to you, Chris. We appreciate your time as always. Hope you're well.
Thank you, Dan. Good talking to you, buddy.
That's Cris Collinsworth, Sunday Night Football color analyst.